Welcome to the Japji Sahib Podcast. In this episode, we'll be going through the 22nd stanza, this wisdom that has been given to us by Guru Nanak Dev Ji. Just before we get started, let's say a fateh to preacher and sing that will be joining us. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. So Guru Nanak Dev Ji starts off with Pataala Pataal, Lakh Aagasan Aagas. Let's just try and understand some of the literal translations to these words. So let's first look at Lakh, which is the word right in the middle. On either side, we've got two words. Lakh translates to 100,000. And this 100,000 will be attached to both sides, to the Pataal and to the Aagas. So what is Pataal? Pataal is referring to all the worlds that are below this earth. It's trying to get us to understand the vastness of this creation. Because when we are living here, we tend to just get caught up in our own little worlds and just think, well, this is it. That's all there is. But what this is doing is it's opening our mind to the vastness of this creation and saying that there's hundreds of thousands of worlds even below this earth. And then Aagas comes from the word Akash, meaning the sky. So here, what we can translate this to is, if we was to literally translate that, that would translate to saying that there's hundreds of other skies as well above other skies. But what we can say here is that there's hundreds of thousands of worlds above this earth as well. So not getting so much into the actual trying to understand the details of that, is it whether it's talking about a solar system, or is it talking about the universe and what is it that exists below this earth or above this earth, or what are the different skies that could potentially exist? What are those hundreds of thousands of skies upon skies, and or whatever makes up this earth and what is below this earth? That's not the point here, and it's very easy to get stuck in all of that. And remembering that what we've put here is that they can be subtle or they can be physical worlds. What we mean by that is this world is made up of the elements of what we know, the earth, the water, the fire, air, and then the space, the sky. So, but there's going to be other parts to this creation, other worlds that are not made up of then these elements. So for us, they'll be in a different form. It could be in a much more subtle form that we cannot comprehend or we can never come to know through this body that is made up of these elements. There could be so many places that it's not possible for this physical body made out of these elements to go to another place. So that gives us a gist. There's a lot going on. There's a lot more to then just this world as we know it, this planet Earth, and our little worlds that we think this is it. This is all that exists. And then Guruji goes on to say, Orrak Orrak Bhaal Thake, Ved Kehan ek vaat. So here, even the Vedas, the four Vedas, the scriptures with abundance of wisdom in there, they are all coherently saying that you can never Orrak Orrak Bhaal Thake, that you can never find the end or the limit. Instead, what will happen is if you try and attempt to try and know everything in its entirety, that Orrak means to go to the end of something. In Punjabi, they would say, Or tak neb jave, ja or tak chal jai. So you'd say, go right to the end of that road. Or tak jai. And that's where that word comes from. I don't know if you've ever heard that
No, mate.
No. Yeah, didn't think so. Okay. So I grew up in a very Punjabi household. So these type of words, terminologies were quite common. We did actually use them. You may have heard when it said in our Itihas, when Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji's cease was brought back by Japji Ji. And at that time, when Mata Gurji came forward and she did darshan of Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji's cease of the head, she did an ardas to say, Aap ji di ta nib gayi, ta meri vi od tak nib jave. So od means right till the end of this physical birth that I've been blessed with. Let me have that endurance and strength to remain righteous and be on this path right till the very end. So that's that word to give it more context. That's what Ord is. So Orrak, if you look at the way it's spelt, it's a kulla ura. So that way it allows us to feel the word and to say in that emphasis where we say Orrak, Orrak. So it's more open. Bhaal means to search, to try and find something. And what Guru Nanak Dev Ji is saying here is that anybody that has tried to find the absolute limit of this creation will all at the end come to what? Thake. It's just get tired. Tired can translate to literally where they just think, we're never going to know the exact, we know today even they found even smaller particles of the atom where they're smashing atoms together to see what they can find, see how, and it just gets smaller and smaller, but there's no knowing the end and the limit of where is it coming from, what's in it. And it's not possible to get there. And that's what Guruji is saying. If you think you're going to know about every planet that exists and why it's there and what purpose does it hold, that then gives birth to a much bigger question. Because really, there's only two reasons why we would be in this search to try and understand this, to try and work all of this out. One is this, that we want to better our lives, where on a physical level, where comforts are concerned, where we want to try and find out how to live in a more healthy manner. So we're trying to search for those answers through whatever exists already on this planet Earth and other places. So we're trying to then expand on our physical comforts. Or there's the side where certain diseases that come up in the body, we're trying to search and find out more answers for them, trying to find more cures. That is all great. And of course, we should try and find out how we can live a more healthy way and healthy lifestyle. And if we can find that out, that's amazing. If we can find more cures for diseases, that's amazing. Let's just take that for a moment. Look how much has been discovered. And that will bring so much joy and so much. It will give people their quality of life back on a physical level. When there wasn't potentially a cure to something and now they've found that cure. So on that level, but just because we found out these things, just because now we've got a cure for a certain disease, it doesn't mean just that now the mind has been completely satisfied and we are now living and leading a life of complete inner stillness, peace and bliss. Just because we've discovered more things, just because we've been able to find ways of how to use certain things from this planet to make our life more comfortable, whether that be technology where communication is concerned, whether that be finding out what the best way to make a mattress is to provide that comfort for our bodies. Just because somebody is now sleeping on the best mattress ever for their back, great, it's helped them fix a problem for their back. But it doesn't mean that now the mind has come to a place of complete satisfaction and anand and bliss. Back's sorted, great. So there's very practical things that can come about from discovering more things that can help us. By the way, most of these things that we're finding cures for or finding comforts for have come from our own way, our own choices that we have made in life anyway, that have created so many issues and now so many diseases that we're trying to find now cures for. There's people now that are trying to want to find ways of how to reach and get to other planets, whether it be Mars, wherever that might be. And they're trying to find out what's available there. If we could potentially set up, communities there, if it's possible, to find things there that can help us back here. If we really look at that, it's an illusion that is what we need, because everything we need we've already got here, and it's human beings that are contributing to making a mess of this planet. Yeah. So if we were to go and settle anywhere else, unless the mind hasn't been worked on, there's that line I shared recently where it says that Vinmane je hori na lujjana jasi janam gawai. This is such an amazing line. If we just looked at that, Vinmane, other than our own mind, je hori na lujjana, and we get caught up with trying to fight fights with everything else, everyone else. Guruji says that Jasi Janma Gawai, you've left here wasting your life. Our main work here is to work on our own mind. And because we've not worked on the mind enough, we've not got our mind under control, is why we've created so much of a mess anyway on this planet. The overconsumption of so many things. Hard plastic, that going into the oceans, one-use plastics. And it's all come from because of the mind, the greed. And, that's why Guruji says to us that, what is it that really makes your mind dirty? And Guruji makes it very clear that man ka soot ka lobh hai. The impurity of the mind is greed. What is greed? Kabir Ji talks about greed. Kabir Ji says, Jaha lobh tah kaal hai. When we look at that line, it's always interesting. Because you look at it literally and you think, where there is greed, there is death. How do you even come to that conclusion? How do you get from greed to death? What do you think Kabir is saying here? For one, let's make this clear. I was discussing this yesterday in a class with somebody, with a group of students, that Kabir Ji will know what Kabir Ji is saying ultimately. Yeah? But what we can do is vichar. We can contemplate. No arrogance to say, yeah, this is it. Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji they've encouraged us to come together like this and look at Gurbani together. So how would you say, how would you make that connection from greed to death? Kabiji saying, where there is greed, there is death.
Is it that there's no end to greed? So when you get into greed, you're gonna end up in a cycle where there's no end to it, and you'll eventually die.
You got it. I don't think anybody got it as quick as that yesterday when we was having the discussion. But think about it. If we look at that practically, greed is what? Let's define it. Greed is this thought that once I get this, whatever it is, once I've got that, and remember, the greed is the need of more of something. So you've got something, but you think, no, I need more of it, or I need a better version of it. But the thought behind it, the very subtle thought behind it, which you might not be clear about, is thinking, once I get it, I'm going to feel complete. Yeah. So that means then the feeling complete or content is in the future. Yeah. So once I get that, then I'm going to be content, which means happy. So once I'm there, I'm going to be happy. That means there's never an opportunity to be happy now. Yeah. Because once you get the more, then you think, maybe it was, can I see your phone, please?
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe is it this one?
Yeah.
Maybe is that one? And because that day never arrives, or that moment never arrives, what does arrive is, when you get it, is a spike in your brain of experiencing pleasure. And as you was attempting to get to it, was a slow release of dopamine, dopamine is released in the pursuit of gaining something which you think is going to be the happiness. But actually it's going to be a spike of just, you're going to experience pleasure. Guru Arjan Dev Ji is very clear about how that works. Guru Arjan Dev Ji says, Janamang ta maranang harkhang ta sogang. So Guru Arjan Dev Ji says that it's very clear the way this works. They say that harkhang ta sogang. And these are things that are definite. It's not that maybe. It's not like, well, you was born Precharan and you was given this body. You've come with this body. But this body coming to an end, that's,
let's see.
Yeah. It's not a guarantee that that's going to happen. Of course it's going to happen.
Right.
Your body's going to come to an end one day. Well, if it was to be more technically accurate, it's not going to remain in this form.
Yeah.
The elements are going to go back into the elements. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in that same way, harkhang ta sogang, where there is harkhang here is where there's pleasure, there is sogang, there is a down from it as well. Now, when you look at the research in neuroscience, they can actually prove this, of what happens in the brain, that when there's a spike, then it's trying to find its equilibrium again. But to get to equilibrium, it overcompensates for a while just to make sure it gets you back there. But before it gets you back there, it actually goes lower than your base level, which is the sogang. So that's the disappointment. I've got it, but then now the disappointment's kicked in. It wasn't exactly what I expected for it to provide me. It's not that it wasn't what I wasn't, it's not that it's not what I was looking for. I might try and come up with those excuses, but because I was looking for Anand, I didn't know that. Yeah, and there's a disappointment now of not having that completeness. So that's why then there's a drop. That's the drop comes. But that's how the brain works. It's always finding equilibrium constantly, trying to find that. So if you've done something, now you've been releasing the dopamine, you're in the chase of it, that's the part. So you never get to reach somewhere. You got to the pleasure. You think in that moment it's the happiness, but it's not, it's pleasure. It's two different things. Yeah? And then it's gone back down. And then it slowly starts to try and find its base again. But often what happens is because of the way life has become today, we've got access to so much. Amazon, look, it's just tick, bas, done, ordered. And I don't know, have you ever, of course you have, because have you got a human brain?
Yes.
Yeah, got a human brain. Okay, so this is more going to be a confirmation then, yeah? Unless, you're completely blissed out and you always, milya hoina vichade je milya. Unless you've completely united and you're just there, your pani sank, pani and we can't just keep now going through panktiyan and if that's not the case, then you'll be able to relate. Yeah, when you decide you're gonna buy something, and then there's something starts happening, doesn't it? There's a bit of excitement to get to the point of, it's crazy nowadays, because back in those days, you'd go out, you'd go get into I remember growing up, getting into a bus.
Yeah.
And then traveling all the way to town with my mum. So it was a big thing. And to do that wasn't going to be very often. So I'm talking now in the late 80s, early 90s. So that would have been a planned trip. We're going to go to town, in 3 weeks' time. And then you walk to the bus stop, you go there, and then you get into town, you get into the shop, you look for the right item that you want, and then there's all of that. So it wasn't so much of a problem because it was so spread out.
Yeah.
But nowadays, the spike is crazy, and the down and up and the down and the up is so crazy because we're doing it probably multiple times a day, pressing that button for Amazon or something. And even still, so we're not gone back to base yet, but just before we reach base, we start thinking about pressing that button again to buy something else. So you've obviously experienced getting that little...
Definitely.
You just feel like, I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna press that button. And you go, dick, and then it's just like this wow moment, little feeling, and that's the pleasure. And then it arrives, and you're just thinking, no, Amazon. Oh, and
sometimes you forget. Like, what's this one that's come today?
Yeah.
Oh, it's for the wife.
Oh, yes. And then, but we hadn't even reached back to base yet. Yeah, and then it's the spike, and we forget what it means to even be in that equilibrium, because now it's become, the roller coaster is so, the gap now is so, we don't even get a chance.
The frequency of it.
Yeah. We don't even get a chance to feel a little bit balanced. It's become so constant. Jahan lob dhakal hai, that you're only gonna reach death. Greed is such a thing. There's no escape. There's never gonna be a moment of, everything's complete inside. Everything that I need is within me. I don't mean on a physical bodily need to survive. The validations we look for from people, from things, you realize when you connect with when you, in the realization, in the knowing of your soul, it's pure stillness. It's just like the Guru says, Antar sunnang, bahar sunnang, trepavan sunnam sunnang. That you just realize it's this beautiful stillness is my true self. Greed will never allow us to know that, because it's in the illusion. If I get that, if I get there, if I get... It's a horrible, horrible place to be in. And we all get caught up in it. All of us. And that time is the reminder to say, no, let's break that. So here, this is what Guru Nanak Dev Ji is trying to get us to understand in this body. That Orrak Orrak Bhaal Thake, Ved Kehan ek vaat, Sehas Atthareh, Kehan Kateba, Asalu ek taat. Guruji saying, look, there's various scriptures, Kateba, other books that have said that, some have said that there's 18,000 worlds. But then Guruji saying that it's not about you now thinking, I know, we've got it, there's 18,000, or someone saying, no, there's millions, or there's this, or there's that. And maybe there's life on other planets, and then we know now, and all of this, whatever it is. And then think about the cycle that we just spoke about. I know what's going to do it. If I get this, if I get that, that's it. That's what's going to do it. And Guruji saying, don't forget, doesn't matter how much there is out there. Asalu, the truth is, the asal of all of this is ektat. There is only one creator that has made all of it, that is at the root of all of it, that is within all of it. You're on this crazy mad search, but the one that has made it all is inside of you, inside of you, inside of you, inside of you. Yeah. So you first, it's about this. Guru Nanak Dev Ji saying to us, just stop. And then they're saying, Mool pachane, taan shoh jane, maran jeevan ki soji hui. They're saying, Mool pachane, recognize your origin. Just strip away everything and know that what you are in essence. And that is Anand. That is true prem. Love, bliss, just translating the words. And taan show jane, then you'll understand. Not by breaking down the atoms more and more, but within yourself, when you start to strip everything back. These thoughts are temporary, they sometimes come, they go. That's not what I am, because what I am is always constant. There's something that doesn't feel I need this to feel complete. And this isn't, I'm not being impractical here. Don't now start thinking, oh, but what about our physical needs? This isn't about that. Whatever you need, this is great. Do what you need to do to live and survive. You need to eat, yeah, great. But thinking that if I made food a bit tastier, then my life will be better, then I'll be... Nahi, oh sara param hai. That's a param.
I think the opposite of greed is gratitude.
Yeah, so gratitude can help us to get to the opposite of greed, which is that contentment in this moment.
because like as much as we've just ripped Amazon Prime, it's very useful.
Yeah.
And as parents and in this work that we do, you know, we use it a lot for very useful things. And it's a fine line between obviously getting sucked into it and going on that dopamine hit, which you said was very narrow, you know, those spikes. And we said it in the last episode as well, that finding a place of gratitude for every moment of life can bring you into the moment. And to live in the world, like you said, practically, it's not about renouncing those things, because we live in the world, we use those tools and we enjoy them. But with gratitude for the one in that, we can then go closer to our soul and realize the Anand that you were just talking about there.
So if we really look at what we're saying, really we're not ripping on Amazon or anything. We're ripping on our mindset.
Yeah.
What's happened inside. And it's not even, we call it ripping ourselves, but it's almost kind of shaking ourselves and waking ourselves up.
It's probably harder now as well in today's day. So that's why we have to shake ourselves maybe that little bit more, because the opportunities for greed and consumerism and that dopamine hit are so much higher. Because when you finish your purchase on Amazon and you're waiting for it to come, you know, you're probably on Instagram swiping through the reels, or on TikTok or on YouTube or whatever else it is. It's non-stop.
Yeah, and then because then over there you're looking for that through likes, and now you're trying to find that through another means. It's just it's
layered.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Of the amount of things, the way now the world has been set up. But remember, in today's world, there's people that have set these things up intentionally.
Right.
To do this to us.
Yeah.
So it's not even that we've got caught up in something.
No, it's not an accident.
Yeah, they've understood the psychology of how the brain works. Companies then have hired these people that understand the psychology of the mind.
Yeah.
Then they've used that intentionally to get us hooked. That doesn't take away the responsibility from us, but it's important to understand this too, because this shows how sick things have become and how much greed has taken over. Because even that's come from greed. Whoever's invented these things to be that way, it's come from greed. It's not come from, oh no, this is going to serve humanity. This is going to be amazing for them. It's not come from that place. It's just come from, how can we sell our products more? How can we make this set up in such a way that people find it hard to get off? And how can they purchase more things? It's set with that, intention. And I think it's important for us to understand that as well. Like, just when we pick something up, just remind ourselves, remember, this is being designed to get you addicted and caught out. Yeah. And this is a part of us living Sat, is looking at all of these things. And so in that sense, yes, but there's always still responsibility, because there's always going to be someone doing something and setting something up. We can't blame them for our state, but it's also, I'm just saying, I'm sharing that, which isn't hidden knowledge. It's not like I'm giving something, tell you a secret,
Yeah.
There's documentaries on it, like it's a thing.
Yeah.
There's people that have now left these big companies because they feel so bad for what they've been a part of creating, and it's almost like the people that would have been, a part of, say, dealing a highly addictive drug, and they've felt in a very similar way, but it just wasn't so in such an obvious way in the beginning. And I think it's important for us to have these conversations more and more, but there's always going to be these things that are going to be coming about, because most people aren't trying to live an alternative way other than trying to reach a certain level of wealth, status, whatever that might be. So that's always going to exist. We just have to become more conscious that just don't forget this has been set up to do this to you. Yeah. But 100% I've still got a responsibility, but it's good to know the nature of something as well. Like, imagine using something, but you don't even know the nature of it. You just thought you was, gonna just communicate and with some friends and do whatever you're doing, but you don't even know. Like, at least if somebody's taking a drug like heroin, most people that take it will know the nature of it and potentially what they're getting themselves in for. Not everybody is going to. I'm sure that more than not will know. But when it comes to these certain products, we don't necessarily know. So Guruji is reminding us, Asalu Iqtat, that the one that's behind this creation is within you. And I think sometimes first just reminding ourselves that at even a mind level it can be so helpful. And then Guruji goes on to saying, Lekha Hoe Ta Likheeai, that you can only write the account of that one if it could be written Lekha Hoe, if it could be done, even if the account could be done to exactly what that one is. Or we could even say, why has that one even made us? We could never say for absolute sure, say, yeah, this is why. And I'll write that down. ਤਾਂ ਲਿਖੀਏ ਜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ if we knew exactly why and the intentions behind why that one has set all of this up. But all we can do is we can take the Guru's wisdom that has known the essence and knows the essence of and the existence and of the one that has created all of this, is take on that and to break out of all of this mess. Lekha Hoe. There is no measuring tool that has been made that can measure the absolute limits of that one. That will just come to an end. It doesn't matter what they try and use to break down how smaller of a particle they continue to try and they discover. But we're never going to know we can never know the formulas by any means of any instrument, which is Anand. There's no instrument that is going to be able to measure that stillness and Anand that is inside of all of us, where we have come from. It's impossible. There's never going to be anything that can say, I can measure that. I remember hearing somewhere where there was some tests being done on someone, on their brain, and this person was asked to go into a meditative state because this person's a practitioner of meditation. And as this person did that, and they were trying to measure what goes on in the brain, I think eventually they all freaked out and said, "Oh, I think he's died." And because you can't measure when you're in that absolute state of stillness, there was nothing left for them to measure. On a physical level, they said our readings is what would show if somebody's dead.
Wow.
Nanak Vaddaa Aakheeai, Ape Jane Aap. All you can do is Guru Nanak Dev Ji saying, just say, wow, you're just beyond. It's just so Vaddaa, great. Ape Jane Aap. You can only really know when you have merged and you are then part of that one and not stuck in your ego and greed. That literally means that one, only that one knows the one. But what that it's saying for us in essence is when you go into that state of, wow, you beyond, limitless. When you do the opposite of trying to find out what is this God, where's this coming from? What is the essence of it all? It's actually the opposite, is when you just go, I can't do it. Vaddaa Aakheeai, just saying, wow, just in that moment, if you truly are able to just go in that state and let go, then you'll know, Ape Jane Aap, then you'll know yourself. Just like when you hear the stories of even like of Gautama of Buddha, when he went and searched, went and did so much penance, and he just, in the end, he was just tired. Orrak Orrak Bhaal Thake. He did some crazy stuff with his body to try and understand and attain what is this all about. And in the end, when he just came and when he gave up, just sat under that tree and he just gave up, that's when he started to realize that Nanak Vaddaa Aakheeai, Ape Jane Aap. So there we have it. That's the 22nd body. And just try and spend time just where you take moments throughout the day. By Veer Singh would say as well, even if you're at work, just take a moment out and just let go of everything, of the work you're doing, all the things that you need to think about. Just take these little moments out and just say, Vah, tu beyante, you're just limitless. And so that way you can know the essence, Ape Jane Aap, and then you turn up to life from there. When you turn up to life from there, you will be such a joy for this world, because you're not trying to suck everything out of other people for you to feel complete. Because you just took that moment out to say, Vah, and you knew that there's something inside that is complete. And then you show up to the world like that. Fateh? Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share and subscribe. Please donate and help spread Guruji's message. Link is in the description below. ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।